Have you ever felt like the weight of the world was on your shoulders, and no matter how hard you tried, you just couldn't break free from your struggles? Today, we travel back to ancient times where one man faced such overwhelming odds that most would have given up, but not him. His name was Kyros, and his story will inspire you to keep pushing no matter how tough life gets. In a small village nestled at the foot of a great mountain lived Kyros, a humble farmer. Life was simple, but it wasn't easy. Kyros was a man of the earth. His hands were rough, and his back bore the marks of long days working the fields. But it wasn't just his farm that weighed on him. Kyros had a family to provide for, his wife Maya and their two children, Lysandra and Thales. Despite his hard work, the crops had failed for the third year in a row. The rains hadn't come, and the land had turned dry and barren. The village elders spoke of a curse that had fallen on the land, and some believed the gods had abandoned them. Kyros didn't believe in curses, but he couldn't deny the despair that hung over his village. Every day he saw his neighbors leaving in search of greener pastures, abandoning their homes in hopes of a better future elsewhere. But Kyros wasn't ready to give up. He loved his home and believed, deep in his heart, that things could change. As the weeks turned into months, Kyros struggled to keep his family fed. The grain storehouse was nearly empty, and the once vibrant fields were now dust. His children were growing weaker, and his wife, usually so full of life, had begun to lose hope. She urged him to consider leaving, just as so many others had. "Kyros," she pleaded one night, "the children need food. They need a future. If we stay, we will all perish. We must go like the others." But Kyros shook his head. "Maya, this land is our home. I will not abandon it. There must be a way to save it." His wife's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue further. She knew Kyros was a man of conviction, but his refusal to leave weighed heavily on her heart. Days passed, and the situation grew worse. Kyros worked from dawn until dusk, trying to coax life from the dead soil. But no matter what he did, the earth remained barren. The other villagers whispered that he was a fool, that his stubbornness would be his downfall. Kyros, however, refused to listen. Deep inside, he believed there was still hope. One evening, after a long and fruitless day in the fields, Kyros sat by the dying fire in his home, his heart heavy with doubt. As he gazed into the flickering flames, something stirred within him. He remembered a story his father had told him long ago about a wise elder who lived high in the mountains. The elder was said to possess great wisdom, and many had sought his counsel in times of great need. Kyros had never put much stock in old stories, but he was desperate. With nothing left to lose, he made a decision. He would climb the mountain and seek out the elder. Perhaps the old man could offer some advice, some guidance that would save his family and his village. Early the next morning, Kyros kissed his sleeping children and whispered a promise to Maya. "I will find a way to save us." With that, he set out on the long, treacherous journey to the mountain's peak. The journey was harder than Kyros had imagined. The mountain was steep, and the path was rocky and narrow. The winds howled, and the cold bit at his skin. Several times he stumbled and nearly lost his footing, but each time he picked himself up and pressed on. His legs burned and his lungs ached, but Kyros was determined. He couldn't fail, not now, not when his family's survival depended on him. After what felt like days of climbing, Kyros finally reached the summit. There, in a small, weathered hut, he found the elder, an old man with a long white beard and eyes that seemed to see straight into Kyros' soul. The elder listened silently as Kyros poured out his heart, telling him of the famine, the dying crops, and his family's suffering. When Kyros finished, the elder was quiet for a long time, as if weighing his words carefully. At last he spoke. "The land will not heal until the hearts of its people do." Kyros furrowed his brow, confused. "I don't understand," he said. "I work hard every day. I love my family. What more can I do?" The elder smiled gently. It is not just about the work of your hands, Kyros. The land is a reflection of its people. For too long, fear and despair have ruled your village. If you wish to bring life back to the land, you must first bring hope back to its people. Kyros was silent, the elder's words sinking in. He realized then that his struggle had not only been with the earth, but also with the spirit of his village. The people had given up, and in doing so, the land had withered. With newfound determination, Kyros returned to his village. He gathered the remaining villagers in the center of the town and shared the elder's message. At first, they were skeptical, but Kyros spoke with such passion and belief that a spark ignited in their hearts. Together, they began to work the fields again, not just with their hands, but with hope. They sang songs of their ancestors, told stories of better days, and supported one another in ways they hadn't in years. Slowly, the earth began to respond. Tiny green shoots appeared in the fields, and the rains, long absent, finally returned. The village was reborn, not just through the crops, but through the spirit of its people. Kyros had saved them, not by leaving, but by believing that there was still hope, even when things seemed darkest. Kyros' story teaches us that sometimes the greatest challenges we face aren't just about the obstacles in front of us, but about the mindset we bring to them. When we choose hope over fear, and when we work together, even the toughest circumstances can be overcome. If this story moved you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and tell me how you're bringing hope into your own life, no matter the obstacles. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to MGS Stories. My name is Sunny Rahman, and here we bring wisdom to fuel your modern-day journey. Remember, the strength you seek is already within you. It's just waiting for you to rise.